Okay. Am I live? Hope I didn't. Okay, I am here. Okay, guys. So this is going to be, excuse all the movement. Let me steal my tripod. This is going to be a super quick video. I wanted to go ahead and answer some of the questions that I got in my acrocyanosis video. So I had about 4 to 5 different comments of people asking the difference between acrocyanosis, which was the topic of the video, and cyanosis. Okay, so acrocyanosis, you can watch the video and I will try to tag the video if I can. Acrocyanosis is one self-limiting. So acrocyanosis is not a sign of any type of pathology. So that's what it means. It's not a sign of any disease process in your baby, and it is self-limiting, which means that it resolves on its own. Your baby does not need any additional intervention to resolve the cyanosis, the acrocyanosis. So like I talked about in the video, it can last anywhere from 48 to 72 hours, where your baby's hands, feet, could be something up here in the lip area, can turn blue for a limited period of time and they return to their normal color. This is because, like I talked about in the video, babies are still establishing their circulation. So this is completely normal and it's transient. That's another word that you'll hear about acrocyanosis, which means it goes away on its own. It transitions, it goes to another phase. So it goes away on its own. So that is acrocyanosis. If you want more details and pictures, please check out my acrocyanosis video. Cyanosis. Cyanosis is going to be when your infant is experiencing cyanosis, you're going to see blueness in the baby. So we see this sometimes, when the baby is experiencing some sort of respiratory distress. So this can happen after birth when you can run into a baby that's swaddled or for something and you'll see the baby's face is blue, mouth is blue, baby is not breathing. This can occur for many different reasons that, related to the respiratory situation of that infant. So it could be, but the most important thing in those situations and what we are taught to do as nurses or providers or doulas is to stimulate that baby. If the baby's experiencing cyanosis, maybe they've gotten cold or something that has kind of depressed their respiratory state, it could be positional. There's so many things it could be that could depress the respiratory state of that baby. So what we want to do in a situation where you come upon your infant and your infant is blue is stimulate that baby. That baby has the urge to breathe. They've taken their first breath, so they can breathe again. So what we want to do is take the baby out of the swaddle. We can rub the baby, we can pat the baby, we can put them on our shoulder, but I do kind of like to keep the baby in a place where I can see their face. But we want to stimulate that baby, tap their feet, wake them up a little bit, because it could be a situation where they've kind of forgotten to breathe, they have relaxed a lot for a myriad of reasons. So if this happens, usually in the postpartum room, this kind of would be a reason to monitor your baby more. Sometimes maybe as a nurse we'll monitor that baby for maybe 30 minutes to an hour and just make sure that their respiratory rate is okay and things like that. But in the case that they're not, maybe they may go to NICU for further evaluation. So if you see your baby is blue, could be that baby's choking, has gagged on something, spit up and is gagging on that, so they're not taking in air. When we see a blue baby, that means that they are not taking in oxygen. So we want to stimulate that baby and see if that baby will breathe on its own, because that's the first step before we start getting into anything like CPR or any kind of resuscitation. So that's going to be cyanosis that most parents are seeing. I think I had another parent ask me about babies being born blue. So babies being born blue is completely normal. That is completely normal. When your baby is in utero, hopefully you can hear me over this construction. When your baby is in utero, the baby's not breathing. Of course, it is in a wet environment. There's no oxygen in your uterus, so your baby is not breathing air. The way your baby gets oxygen is through the umbilical cord. So when your baby comes out into the world, they can be blue because they are not oxygenated. Their cells do not have as much oxygen, especially if during the birth, you had a long, difficult labor or lots of pushing or anything that could have compressed the cord. So that birth of that transition time while the baby's, you know, trying to come out of the pelvis, there's a tight squeeze. There's a lot of things that could be going on. So when your baby comes out, they may be blue, and that is okay. That is okay. If your baby doesn't cry right away, that is also okay. We will typically, once again, like I said earlier, stimulate the baby, because the baby should have the urge to breathe unless something else is going on. So we want to see, okay, does the baby just need to wake up? Like, okay, are you stunned from delivery? Like, let's just wake you up. But if there's something further, some type of respiratory issue going on, then baby may have to go to NICU or get further evaluation from a physician. But it's okay for your baby to come out blue, because don't worry, they have gotten oxygen from the blood from the umbilical cord. And that's another great reason for delayed cord clamping and things like that. So they can get all that oxygen from the cord while they are maybe struggling to take their first breath. Maybe they need to be suctioned. Maybe they're full of fluid, all kinds of things like that. So if your baby comes out blue, that is okay. Usually as nurses, we do not start to get very concerned about resuscitation unless that baby has not taken that breath or cried or anything for about 2 minutes, because then we're going to the point of, you know, lack of oxygen, we're thinking about brain damage, things like that. So we will typically just stimulate the baby, warm the baby, do different things to kind of wake that baby up before we actually start to do any type of medical intervention or type of resuscitation attempts. So I hope that helps you. The baby's born blue, that is completely normal. Another thing to keep in mind, so this is like the side note, and I think I discussed this in my acrocyanosis video too. Babies can be bruised, especially depending on the nationality or the skin tone of your baby. If they experienced a hard delivery, and it doesn't even have to be a hard delivery, it could have been positional where they were positioned in the pelvis, they could have facial bruising that can often look bluish or purplish as it heals. And a lot of times people will mistake that as cyanosis, especially around the mouth. A lot of babies will have bruising around the mouth and will think it's cyanosis. So in those situations, we want to clean the baby. We want to evaluate the skin tone based on the family and the other parts of the baby's body to see and make sure that we are not mistaking bruising, facial or body bruising from delivery as cyanosis. So check for chest rise. For babies, it's more belly rise. They are belly breathers. So check for belly rise. Are they breathing, crying, making noise? If they're crying and making noise, they're A-okay. But if the baby's silent, the baby is not, it's kind of flaccid, they don't have a lot of tone, the baby's blue, and then we get into 2 minutes of that behavior, yeah, then it's time for us to start looking at other options. I hope that this helps you guys. If you have any more questions about acrocyanosis or cyanosis or anything about your delivery experience, please let me know. I want to create content for you guys, but I need to know what y'all want to know about, because, you know, there's just so much. Okay? Hope this helps you. Bye-bye.